If you're looking for some of the biggest builders in Kansas City, then this is the video for you. One of the things that makes buying or building a new home here so different is that we have hundreds of local and oftentimes generational builders. That means that you have a ton of options, but the hard part is picking the right one. So in this video, we're going to break down 17 of the biggest builders in Kansas City, where they build, price ranges, what makes them unique, and so much more. If you stick around until the end, there's one crucial detail you need to know if you have any interest in buying or building a new home in Kansas City. Part one goes out to the builders who are all over Kansas City, all the top suburbs, both the Kansas side and the Missouri side. Quick disclaimer is that this is in no particular order. There are some builders on this list that we really, actually most of the builders we really like. There are some that maybe it wouldn't be our top choice, but this is it all depends on what you're looking for specifically. We want to provide as much info as possible. So with that said, the first one on the list is Inspired Homes.
Yep, Inspired Homes. So big builder here in Kansas City. They sold about 70 homes in the last year, and we actually have a client who's under contract on one right now. We've walked a lot of their homes, and I've been really impressed with the quality of the finishes, and then also the size of their homes and what the price points that they're able to sell them at. That price per square foot. It's very
Yeah, the price per square foot is unbeatable. If you had asked me like 6 months to 12 months ago, I wasn't the most fond of their homes. I don't know why, but touring more and more of them, working with them, with our clients who are purchasing one, I have just been blown away. Jordan's being a little humbled. That house appraised like $20,000+ above the purchase price. They ended up getting a credit from the builder on top of that. It's just a testament to the value for the square footage. It's not bottom of the line finishes either. We wouldn't let our client buy something like that. So the second thing that makes them unique is their warranty. Most builders in Kansas City, it's a 1-year warranty. Inspired has what's called a 2-10 home buyer's warranty. So the 1 year is mostly cosmetic related items. Year 2 is mechanical, electrical, everything behind, most of the things behind the walls. And then the 10 is for a 10-year structural warranty, which is a really big piece of value.
Yeah, it's a massive value add to have the structural warranty, because anytime you have an issue with the basement, it gets very expensive very quickly. Now, the other thing that Inspired has that's really kind of unique, not all builders have it, is an in-house design center. So if you choose to build a home from the ground up, you're going to one place, you have a designer there to help you pick out all the selections and design your home to your style. Now, the reason that's important is because with other vendors, you may be driving around town to different vendors and just spending a lot of unnecessary time.
Then that gets even harder if you're relocating here or building a home while moving to Kansas City. Final thing that you should know, this is going to apply to some builders on the rest of this list, is that Inspired is both a builder and a developer. And in Kansas City, there is a distinction between those two things. I know in some areas, the developer is always the builder. But here, there are some communities where there's a developer, then you'll have like 4 to 6 different builders to choose from. And you'll have other communities where the builder is the developer as well. So Inspired happens to play both of those roles. They build in some of their own communities. They build in some communities where they are not the developer. So you really get quite a few different options. We'll put some of those communities on the screen right here. Again, they are all over Kansas City. These are not the only communities they are in, but you're welcome to reach out with any questions.
And the second builder on our list today is SAB Homes. Now, this has become a favorite of mine. I know it's one of Nick's favorite builders. They've been in business somewhere around 35 years here in Kansas City, and last year they sold about 40 single-family homes. They also sell a lot of villas, so this is single-family only. That's quite a bit of homes.
Yeah, I think they're very consistent. I would say one of the biggest differences between Inspired and SAB, they both build in a lot of different areas around Kansas City. SAB offers a very high level of customization. So they also have a design center. I think it's in the upstairs of their office, which is in like Lee Summit. So when you build a home, or if you buy a spec home that's under construction, you can kind of customize it a little bit. You'll go there. Sometimes you can split it up into 2 different days, but you're working with the designer. You're making most of your decisions in one place. And then for lighting, you might go somewhere else, but super convenient. I think the second thing is they attempt to include a lot of upgrades that other builders may charge for in their base price. And one of my favorite upgrades that they include is they always do these outlet strips under the cabinets in the kitchen. They include downlighting. I think those two things, if you're going to spend like over $500,000 for a new home in 2025 and beyond, those are two things you probably should absolutely have. It's nice that they include them.
Yeah, they also include like high tread carpet in the stairwells and tile and bath showers in all the bathrooms of the home. And their starting price point comes in at $575,000 all the way up to $1 million plus.
Now, the third thing we should mention is their website is actually very, very good. Not all builders even have websites in Kansas City, which is bizarre to say, but I think SAB's is good because they have a ton of floor plans and they have 3D tours of pretty much all of those floor plans. So if you're looking to build something, you can get a pretty good idea of what that'll look like. Before you come into town and actually visit. I think the fourth thing is they seem to be pretty consistent. I've worked with them on a couple of different occasions. You can find them in most communities around Kansas City. The pricing is always pretty competitive for the value they provide. One thing that you should know is that some builders in Kansas City, they're not going to include those upgrades. And their base price, their prices in general, might look like they're very low. Well, once you get everything that you would be getting with a builder like this, you might be paying even more for that. So that's something that's certainly nice to see. Finally, we're going to put some of the biggest communities that they build in on the screen right here. They do develop some of their own communities, but most of the time they're in communities along with a number of other builders that you can choose from.
Builder number 3 on the list is none other than Julian Builders. So there's somewhat of a historical figure in the home building community here in Kansas City. This list would not be complete without him. So they've been here for doing business for 50 years. They sold about 22 single family homes last year. They build a lot in the Northland and then also in Johnson County, Kansas. A lot of luxury homes.
Yeah, their price point is anywhere from like the upper 700s, 800s, all the way up to 2 million plus is really as high as the numbers can go with new construction. They are a really good developer. And they also, on Julian, my understanding, is helped in the formation of Trumark Homes. That's who we're going to cover number 4th in this video. But great developer. They've got Riverstone Valley right now. They've got Bristol Highlands, which we've made a dozen videos in. And we've toured a lot of their properties, and they're kind of iconic. I think they do a great job. The Madison 2, it's a huge 1.5-story home, over 4,000 square feet, without the basement being finished. It's got a Juliet balcony, soaring ceilings. They've got 2 other plans that we really like. One is the Portland reverse. It's got like a courtyard in the entry, and it's got a wet bar there. It's got the perfect ratio of bedrooms, bathrooms, half bathrooms. Done some really cool things with it. We've toured 2 of them.
Yeah, perfect for entertaining.
Yeah, and then they've got the Brookridge 2, which has a nice vaulted ceiling in the kitchen. It's got skylights there. Just really, really solid plans, consistent, predictable, and that's probably what you're wanting in a builder that you know has been around for a long time. So we'll put some of their biggest communities on the screen right here. As always, this list is not conclusive, so you might find them in some communities outside of this. You also might find that they'll do build jobs in communities where they are not one of the designated builders in.
Now, they also have an in-house design center where they have their own designers on staff that can help you style and design your home the way that you want it. The other thing that's a little unique, if you do want to customize a home, Julian also has architects on staff that can help you customize one of the 38 floor plans that they have, or you can design one from the ground up.
And I think they've got one coming around the corner, brand new plan in Bristol Highlands. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. And we're going to move on to the 4th builder on the list, which is Trumark Homes.
So we just got done talking about how Julian's got like 38 floor plans to choose from on his website. Well, he helped found Trumark. Trumark's got 37 floor plans, and so they're bound to have something.
We're not keeping track.
Yeah. It's not a competition, but they have something that you like, and they do have, probably about 5 or 6 of those are really the most popular ones. Now, a couple of them that we've toured that we really like are the Timberland Reverse. We did that one at Bristol Highlands, and then also the Timberland 1.5-story.
They've got a very unique, I've had clients build a 1.5-story, I think it's called the Mackenzie. They've got 2 that are very similar. Soaring ceilings, huge house, absolutely beautiful wall of windows. And they've got a 2-story called, I believe, the Avalon, one of the Stonebridge neighborhoods in South Olathe. But it's a 2-story, the master's upstairs, and it has soaring ceilings, which is very, very rare to see. So they've got a lot of different choices for you. Like we said, they build in a lot of the same communities that Don Julian does and some. So we'll put a list on the screen. Some of the bigger ones are Seven Bridges in Platte City, Missouri, Hook Farms in Lee Summit, Woodside Ridge. It's kind of further along. The price point's a little bit higher there. Really beautiful homes. Falcon Lakes. We've been out there a couple times in Baser, Kansas. Harry Brook. That's a staple in South Overland Park. And then you've got some others like Bristol Highlands, which they're doing a lot of those Timberland 1.5 stories and Timberland reverse 1.5 stories in Lenexa and Shawnee.
And the one thing that they do really well too is they've got this wide range of price ranges. So their homes start in the high 500s and then go all the way up to 1.2 million plus.
Moving on to the fifth builder in this video, it's actually the biggest builder in Kansas City as of last year, their sales volume, and that would be Summit Homes. One thing that we want to clear up is my understanding is that this is a Berkshire Hathaway affiliated company. It's under the umbrella of Warren Buffett's assets. And you've got Summit, and then there used to be a separate kind of brand name that were building very similar homes, but smaller, targeting a lower price point. It was Clover and Hive. My understanding is that over the last year, they've consolidated just into Summit Homes. They've started targeting a more affordable, attainable price point, and we're going to show you what that is in a second. But just to clear that up, if you see a Clover and Hive now under Summit Homes, you'll see that on their website. The prices will range anywhere from $325. In the past, they've done some higher priced homes all the way up to the 800s. But what I see more common now, at least for their actively listed homes, really at a higher end of like the 500 to 600. So they're really targeting that price. It's really hard to get into with new construction. And that's why they build so many homes across the metro.
And one of the ways that they've done that to streamline the process is they have 3 different design packages that you can choose from. And they call them Series 1, 2, and 3. And so if you choose a Series 1, that's going to be like the base package that you can get into with like laminate countertops and vinyl flooring. Or you could go up to the Series 3, where you're going to get tile in the bathrooms, engineered hardwoods, and it's going to cost anywhere from $12,000 to $16,000 to get that package on that particular plan.
Now, in these situations, there is always a price point and location where buying a brand new home does not make as much sense as resale, but it all depends on what you're looking for. One thing I would say is if you are going to buy one of these homes, you're already spending $300,000, $400,000. If it costs an extra $5,500 to $8,000 to get to like real countertops instead of laminate countertops, there's some real value to be had by making that upgrade. Not all upgrades are going to be worth it. A lot of what we do day to day is talking our clients out of making upgrades into homes. But at this price point, it's absolutely worth it because it will impact the value of that home every single day till you go to sell it. And that'll have a big impact on your bottom line.
And the livability of the home. I mean, you might have to replace laminate countertops after a few years, and unless you get quartz or something that lasts a lot longer.
So moving on to some of their communities, they're all over the place, but mostly, and they're based out of Lee Summit. So you're gonna find most of these around Blue Springs, Lee Summit, Lake Lotawana, a lot in Raymore. Raymore has been growing very quickly. Then you'll also find a couple in like a Spring Hill and Overland Park, but a lot of the time they're going to be found in Jackson County. Which brings us to the sixth and final builder under this section of the video, and that would be Ashlar Homes.
Yep, Ashlar Homes, pretty big builder in Kansas City. They sold something like 62 homes in the last year. They're based out of Blue Springs, Missouri. One of the things that they do very, very well is they build that entry starter home in new construction. And they do that, starting home prices are right around that 300,000 mark. They go all the way up to about 550. And one of the things that's really unique about them, I found doing a little research on their website, right now they're offering incentives. If you want to do a build job and you pick the right floor plan and the right community and use their lenders, you may only have to put 1 or 2% down, which is almost unheard of because in new construction here in Kansas City, if you're doing a build job, usually at minimum, it's 5%, probably 8% down.
Yeah, that's really impressive to see. I know some of you at that price point, you might really, really want new construction. We almost always recommend compare resale homes at that price point to new construction. And we absolutely get it. If like you're after new construction, that's a great program to use. just to give you some context, the reason that 1%, 2% matters is because that's pretty much what you would be putting down on a pre-existing home. So very, very competitive and a smart play on their part. I think did you mention the prices already?
Yeah, 3 to 600 or 3 to 550.
Yeah, pretty good price point. One of my clients sold a home that they had built in like 2013. They sold it like last summer in pretty good condition. I thought my sellers had kept up the property very well, but I was surprised by the quality of it. You will find a mix of some of their homes that have basements, some that are built on slabs, but that is all in an attempt to hit the price point. So we will put some of their communities on the screen right here. You can see they're all over Lee Summit, Blue Springs, Kansas City, Missouri, and of course, Spring Hill. Now, before we move on to the next section of the video, if we haven't met yet, then welcome to the channel. My name is Nick.
And I'm Jordan.
And we help people buy and build homes all over the Kansas City suburbs. It's not just picking the right builder, but it's also picking the right community, the right floor plan, the right lot, and there's so much that goes into it. Any specific questions, if you'd like to make this video specific to your budget, your location, etc., we love to make sure you've got all the info you need. So feel free to give us a phone call, text message, email. We'll break down even more information here at the end of this video. But moving into the next section, we're going to get into specific areas where most of these builders predominantly build in like a county by county basis. So we're going to start on the Kansas side in Johnson County. And the first builder in this section is Rodrock Homes.
If you've done any research on new homes in Johnson County, you've probably come across Rodrock Homes. They've been around a long time here in Kansas City, primarily focused just on Johnson County. They are a developer and a builder. They sold about 55 single-family homes last year and recently just released a new neighborhood called Parkside Reserve in South Olathe with some new floor plans that we toured, and they're pretty impressive.
Yeah, we'll link that down below. You'll at least see some drone footage on the screen for that. One of the things that makes Rodrock different is, one, for the price, they do a great job of making their homes feel very big. So not necessarily the same like we talked about with Inspired, where the price per square foot is very, very competitive. They can take a home that's even like 2,600, 2,800, 3,000 square feet, make it feel very, very big, which is something we break down in that video on their brand new community. I think the second thing that makes them unique is, yes, they do build homes in some other communities that they're not the developer in, but they're really known for some of their communities. They've got excellent programs that go on throughout the year. They've got a Moms Council in a lot of their communities that plan activities, events, etc. They're known for their amenities. And then finally, they basically only develop in areas that have highly sought after school districts, which is why we started this section with, you've probably come across them looking at homes online.
And one thing to note about their developments is they're not just exclusive to Rodrock. They normally always have other builders in their communities building homes. The other thing, they're known to offer a lot of incentives like rate buy downs and basement finishes and things like that. They did that recently at Parkside, trying to spur momentum and get some homes sold in there. The other thing that Rodrock does that's very unique is on their spec inventory, they will halt a certain amount of homes at 60 days out or so. That way buyers can choose their own finishes.
Yep, there's some pros and cons to all of that, but they will offer quite a few incentives from time to time, and sometimes you can even request some of those. There's no guarantee you'll get them. Sometimes you can request them even if they're not promotions that are running currently. The last thing that we want to say is they just unleashed like several brand new floor plans. We were really impressed with one, which is called the Biscayne, and it's a 2-story home. It's got 2-story ceilings, which is really, really rare. But that home is a great example of how they do a great job making their houses feel very big. Last thing that we want to mention here, we had a client who purchased one in Sundance Ridge, which is one of their communities in Overland Park, the Blue Valley School District. An old model home. The price was very competitive. We ended up getting a credit on top of that. And what I can tell you is, from going under contract on the house to closing on it, the customer service I thought was really impressive. Their warranty is all in-house, and certainly some good options out there.
Next on the list is J.S. Robinson Fine Homes. Now, they've become one of my favorite builders since I started touring all these homes with Nick, and they've been in business here about 35 years, sold about 21 homes last year. Primarily, they build just here in Johnson County in several different neighborhoods, And then they are known to build over in Lockwood, Missouri.
That's right. We'll put a list of all the communities they build in on the screen right here. One thing that you should know about them is that they're not just building in these communities. In fact, there are a number of builders in this video where we will consistently see them. Even in communities where they don't commonly build in, we will consistently see them doing build jobs, and that is one good sign of an incredible builder. I think the second is their price point, anywhere from 700 to 2 million plus. They can do some really high-end homes. But for the most part, we tend to see anywhere from the upper 800s to the upper 1.2s. And they're really known as the affordable or attainable luxury builder. We know when we go to like tour or walk through a JS Robinson home, we know that it's going to be a pretty high level of finishes. We know the standards are very, very consistent in those homes, which is always nice to hear. The last thing that we want to say here is they also do a little bit of infill and redevelopment in like a Prairie Village, a Fairway, Kansas. So not just subdivisions, but they also do acreage in some parts of the Kansas City metro area as well. Warranties all in-house. Couple of the big ones that we've gone through. They've got the Avila in Aventino, which is in Leawood, Kansas. I know, Jordan, your favorite. When we first started working together, his eyes just lit. It's the first time I got a really good reaction from him in a property. It was the Del Mar in Bristol Highlands.
Yep. Beautiful property. Felt really open. The finishes were just fabulous throughout that home. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so we've got like number of different tours on them, and we'll link those in a playlist down in the description below. But we are going to move on to the second builder in this section, which is Gabriel Homes.
This is a builder that we've toured several times here on the channel. Gabriel Homes, been in business over 20 years, based out of Olathe, Kansas. And they sold about 23 homes last year. They're in several communities around the area. And they've got 2 floor plans that are just really big hits, aren't they?
That's right. So it's interesting because like our philosophy when it comes to business, at least mine, is do a few things really, really, really well instead of trying to be good at everything. I'm not saying Gabriel Homes is not good at everything, but they excel in 2 specific areas with 2 specific floor plans. The reason we can say that is because they build these homes more than any other, like they are so in demand. One is the McKenna 2-story. They've got like 6 or 7 different fronts, so elevation styles that you can go with. We've done even 2 different tours. We did one in Southern Meadows. We did one in Boulder Creek in Olathe, Kansas. And this is one of the most popular, by far, 2-story floor plans in Kansas City writ large. Inside, it feels like a very traditional 2-story. The sink and the kitchen's on the perimeter. You're overlooking the backyard.
Huge island.
It's got a huge island. It's just a classic traditional 2-story. And it's gotten to a point where in some of these neighborhoods, if you drive through the streets, you're gonna drive past like 10 to 20 of these homes. Like it is like easily one of the most built 2-story floor plans. The way they could do that is they've got so many different styles to choose from. The second floor plan that they do really well is actually reverse 1.5. It's called the Richmond, and this might look a little familiar. They build it quite a bit, both in single family neighborhoods as well as villa communities. But I think what really makes Gabriel stand out, aside from the popularity of those 2 floor plans specifically, is the price point that they can hit. They're consistently anywhere from the upper 600s or the mid 600s. They can go all the way up to 1 million plus. But really, you're not going to see that price point unless you do all the upgrades and you finish all the levels, especially on their 2-story, for example. Now, I know we've spent a lot of time on both those floor plans. They obviously have other floor plans you can choose from. But Jordan, why don't we put a list of the communities they build in on the screen here?
Yep, communities on the screen. So as you can see, they're in Boulder Hills and Olathe, Boulder Creek and Olathe, Southern Meadows and Overland Park, which is a great up-and-coming new neighborhood, and then Prairie View at Creekside Woods in Lenexa.
Now, they do build in far more communities than this, and sometimes it's build jobs, sometimes they are the designated builder. Those are just 4 of the most common communities that we've seen them sell homes in. So, moving on to the next one on the list, it is Bickimer Homes. Now, Jordan and I, over the past couple months, we've been fortunate enough to tour a lot of properties, and my list of favorites that's like 1 million plus, there are 2 that Bickimer builds that are certainly close to the top of that list. We did the Roosevelt, which was in Century Farms, very futuristic looking elevation. It has a spiral staircase, soaring ceilings, beautiful main floor. It's very functional. And then a couple of weeks ago, we did like the reverse 1.5 version of that, minus the spiral staircase, but it had everything else. It was the Riviera in Timber Rock, golf simulator, probably hundreds of thousands worth of quartzite and stone throughout the property. Just a really, really neat and modern transitional Tudor style to it. But Jordan, it's not just the million+ price point. They start around the lower 700s.
Yeah, lower 700s all the way up to 2.5 million custom build jobs. And Bickimer's been around a long time here in Johnson County, 40 years. They sold 24 homes last year, and they've got like 30 plans to choose from. So a wide range of plans that they build. They're very successful with their 1.5-story plans, and they build in several communities. They are actually a developer as well. They've got the Enclave at Manchester Park in Lenexa, and that's where you'll find a lot of their homes starting in that 700,000 range. And then they're also going to build in the up-and-coming Heritage Ranch too in Olathe. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, one thing that makes them unique is, for a lot of builders that do a lot of production, which I'm not saying that Bickimer is, but they do build a good number of homes. Sometimes the floor plans, the elevation, the character kind of gets washed away just because they're building it over and over and over and over again. I think one thing that Bickimer does a really good job of is their elevations, the styles of the homes. They're very unique. They stand out. We showed you the Riviera. We showed you the Roosevelt. These are some of the most total opposite ends of the spectrum, but it just goes to show with the wide price point that they build in, how versatile they really are. So moving on to the next builder on the list, it is Lambie Homes. And while they sold 6 single-family homes in the last year, we're putting them on the list because they've been in Kansas City a very long time, over 45 years. Kansas City Home Builder Hall of Fame, which is a really big deal. And they do a lot of twin villas, which I know. We said we were going to mostly do single family, but this is a builder you have to know about because they do a little bit of everything. I mean, they've recently done a lot of infill development, so tearing down properties, building new ones in Fairway, Prairie Village, even North Overland Park. They do a lot of twin villas. Recently, we toured one of the first single-family homes they built in a subdivision, which is the Bridgewater.
Yeah, so they are on the builder lineup at Southern Meadows. We toured that Bridgewater, had an absolutely beautiful modern elevation to it with all the slanted roofs. And so when you walk in, you have these slanted ceilings in the kitchen and in the primary bedroom where you have the beams as well. It's really a great plan. And then talking about the twin villas, we went over to Regents Park and the Belmont. I think it was the Belmont. So beautiful floor plan, had the barrel vaulted ceilings as you walk in. Really beautiful homes. They do a really good job.
Yeah, and one thing that we'll say is what you'll run across when you're looking at different builders, there are going to be some builders, and we've covered some on this list, where their allowances are going to be very low, where you're going to get in at one price, and then once you get everything you want, you do the upgrades you want, you're going to get out at a very high price. Lambie would be one where the initial price is going to look higher. That's because they're including a lot of upgrades that other builders would charge for. So one thing that we've noticed, like their villas in Regents Park, yeah, they're at a high price point, but they're also like 3,000 to 4,000 square feet per side of the villas. They've got some very unique doors that we've noticed, just very interesting trim work on them. And again, this is a builder we know the consistency, the level of quality is going to be pretty high. So moving on to the final builder, at least in the Johnson County section, I think they sold the highest number of homes in this area specifically over the last year. That would be Prieb.
Yeah, Prieb Homes, they've been in business over 40 years here in Johnson County. They're based out of Olathe, Kansas, and they primarily only build in Olathe, Lenexa, and Shawnee. Now, they also are a developer, and they have several developments going on right now. And one of the things that they do is allow other builders to come in to some of those developments and build. One thing that Prieb does very well is they have a starting price point at like $500,000 for new homes in Johnson County. And it's very hard to do that.
Yeah, if you're looking for a new home in Johnson County, 500, you're really not going to find any options really, unless they're on slab. So they don't have a basement. Prieb, all their homes do have a basement foundation. But this really is like the price point where, you know, the lines are kind of blurred between buying a resale home. Well, you get more value there versus buying new construction. So it all depends on what you're looking for. I think two of the bigger advantages with Prieb is one, they have a lot of inventory. So it's not just the price point, they've got a lot of homes. So even though we've got a housing shortage, even though at a lot of these price points there aren't a ton of options in the market, they consistently have homes that are nearing completion, that are move-in ready. So if you like really want new construction and you want it on your timeline, then you're going to find a ton of options listed on the market. I think the final one is if you were to build with them, I've got a client building with them right now, you're going to be able to customize some things, but one of the ways they can get that price a little bit lower is by leveraging economies of scale. So it's not like you're going to be able to customize every last detail inside of the home, more so like larger pieces like cabinet renderings, paint colors, trim, tile, a lot of the finishes. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next section of the video, which is Jackson County in Missouri.
First on the list out of Jackson County is Walker Custom Homes. Now they've been in business over 17 years. They're a luxury custom builder based out of Lee Summit, Missouri, and they sold something like 27 homes last year. And their starting price point is like mid fives all the way up to multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah, so they are very versatile. You'll notice, you know, some of the most expensive new construction properties on the market right now, like Lake Winnebago, I think Lake Lotawana as well. And Walker has a couple that are like 2.5. There's one that's over $3 million. It's like tier one lakefront or the pool in the back, like all the highest end stuff. They also have a production side of their business. And one of the things that makes them unique is that versatility, right? To be able to do that, you know, the 600s as well as the $3 million plus. That's very impressive. They had a property, I think it was in a new Longview in Lee Summit, that was just gorgeous. It backed up to water. It was very, very unique. But I think the second thing is this is a builder that's primarily based in Jackson County, but they are expanding into many areas throughout Kansas City, one of which is like the city of Olathe. They've got some, I think, coming online in Overland Park as well. And then after that, we've got a list of their communities. So you can see that on the screen. Some of the bigger ones, notice Hook Farms and Lee Summit. They've got a lot of different lot options. Lake Winnebago, they've got quite a few builds there. A lot of Lotawana, Stonebridge South, Sundance Ridge. They are really all over the place. And 27 sales in the last year, they're clearly growing very quickly.
The second builder on our list out of Jackson County is DRHI, David Richards Home Building Incorporated. So this is a family business, generational business, been around for 30 years. They do a lot of home building in Oak Grove, Grain Valley, and Blue Springs. And their prices start in that 300,000 range on up to 600,000.
Yeah, and they've got a ton of different communities that I think one of the big things that makes them unique is the number of homes that they're building and the locations they're building them in. So, you know, some of the builders in this category, even the ones we covered in the first section, like the biggest builders in Kansas City, a lot of them in Jackson County are in like Lee Summit, then Blue Springs, then Raymore. There are very few bigger builders that we found that are in places a little bit further out, like Oak Grove, Grain Valley. So that is one of the things that makes them quite a bit different than a lot of the other builders on this list is they specialize in that specific area. And it can be a little harder to find bigger builders that are well known that are in some of those areas. So we'll put a list of their communities on the screen here. These are just some of the biggest ones. They're not all of them. So feel free to reach out and we can get you that information. But you've got 2 in Blue Springs, Oak Grove, 1 in Grain Valley.
All right, the last builder on our list out of Jackson County is Trumark Homes. It's a family generational business, been in business since 1982. They sold something like 23 homes last year, and their prices start at 450 all the way up to 900,000 plus.
And what they include for some of those prices, most of them being somewhere in the 500s to 700s, is incredible. I've toured their homes on a number of occasions, both just myself to familiarize myself with their work and also with clients, and every single time, super impressed. One thing in specific that stands out to me is they include a lot of beam and trim work, and it's not just like one beam across the family room. Like you will see that at some of these price points, where it's just like one like beam that like you could do with foam. No, they do very extensive level beam work. I've always been, you know, very, very impressed with the level of finishes, the cabinet work, etc. I think they do a great job for that price. We're going to put a list on the screen of some of the cities, communities that they're in, mostly in Lee Summit. So like Woodside Ridge, which is a higher end, more luxury community, it starts in like the 700s. Winterset Valley, definitely one of those communities that's just foundational in Lee Summit. Tons of different amenities there. Their prices tend to be on the higher side as well. They've got Monticello or Monticello. I don't know how to say that one, but feel free to correct me in the comments below, and plenty more where that came from. Now, final thing about the builders in Jackson County. I know it seems imbalanced. We covered like 6 or 7 in Johnson County, only 3 in Jackson County. And what this comes back to is some of the biggest builders we covered in that first section, a lot of them are mostly in Jackson County. Like I would say Summit Homes, Newmark definitely has a big presence in Lee Summit and Jackson County in general. SAB has a big presence there, Inspired Homes. So I know it seems like we're a little light there, but the reason why is because we've covered that with some of the biggest builders in Kansas City. So we move on to the final part of the video, completely different area of the metro, that would be north of the river.
First up, we have Hearthside Homes. Now, they're based out of Liberty, Missouri. They've been in business since 1987. They sold 36 homes last year. That's a good amount of homes. And recently, we just toured the Ashton in Homestead in Liberty. Really beautiful floor plan. Yeah, it's a reverse walkout lot, backs to tree lines. And what was really cool about that, they had that built-in office off the main.
Still talking about it weeks.
I mean, yeah, like you never see that before. I just thought it was really cool.
And I think that was what I think it was what, under 700?
Seems close, right around that mark.
Yeah, so very impressive for the level of finishes inside. And one thing that makes Hearthside different is not just that they're like mostly, exclusively in the Northland. They got a ton of different floor plans to choose from. They're a bigger builder. They're outfitted with a design center in-house. So if you're moving to the Kansas City area or you don't want to go to a bunch of different vendors, but you still want to build a home, their process, very streamlined. It's going to make it very simple to do that. And that's not just like our experience with them. We talk with a lot of on-site agents that sell a lot of their homes as well in these communities they build in. And consistently, like if someone's relocating to the area, that is one builder that's going to be a very, very good fit for them. We've got a couple other communities on the screen right here. We mentioned the Homestead Hills. You'll see some drone footage on the screen from that. Davidson Farms is a big one in Kansas City, Missouri. You've got the woods at Creekside and Parkville. I love Parkville. It's got a lot of elevation changes. It's beautiful. And then Cadence in Kansas City, Missouri, which had some really good lot options.
Our next builder on the list is Robertson Construction. Now, they've been in business since 1992. They sold something like 55 homes in the last year. And they're kind of similar to Prieb. So they build a lot of their own communities, develop a lot of their own communities, and then build in them. And they don't really have any outside builders that come in. One thing that they do well is they build that starter point entry-level home in new construction. Prices range from $375,000 to $700,000. And we actually toured one recently with some clients, and it was a split-level home, and the one in Kearney had some decent level finishes at that price point.
Yeah, it definitely felt big for that price. And I will say that 375 to 700 price range, that's really difficult to hit with new construction, especially in Kansas City, Missouri right now. They recently updated their building codes. They require a little bit higher standards for energy efficiency at this point, and it's increased the cost to build by like $15,000 up to $30,000, sometimes even more than that. So their median price that we tend to see is around $400,000. Again, that's the main reason they're on the list. It's one of the biggest advantages. That's a really hard price to get into. We did mention in the Johnson County section that like 500 is really kind of the starting point, at least in that area. The reason it's so much less in Kansas City, Missouri is just you'll notice the home prices are lower. Notice the land value, the cost is a little bit less. And that's what that major difference is, in case you're wondering about that discrepancy. We'll put a list of their communities on the screen right here. Most of them, Kansas City, Missouri. They've got a couple in Liberty, Kearney, etc. And the final part of this section, I know we had 2 videos, and I don't want to seem like we're making excuses, but that's 5 total builders that we've covered exclusively that mostly build in the Missouri side. Again, most of those biggest builders, a lot of them will build in the Northland. So Inspired has quite a few communities. SAB, I know for a fact, is up there. Don Julian is up there. Newmark is up there. Summit has a couple communities. Ashlar, I think, is mostly Jackson County. I wouldn't be surprised if they've got a couple in the Northland. But I know we covered a ton of detail in this video. All of these builders are different. They operate differently. They have different pricing. Some will have very big allowances. Their standards are going to be pretty high end. Some not so much, which means you get it at one price, and then once you get everything you want, you get out at a completely different price. We don't want that to happen to anybody. The truth is, we only covered 17 of the largest builders in this video, but there are hundreds of smaller builders that might not get the same attention online. And we want to shine the floodlights on those builders too. We want to let you know about them. So subscribe, because we'll make videos about them in the future. But in the meantime, make sure to reach out, because choosing the right builder, it's kind of like hitting a grand slam, bottom of the ninth, World Series is on the line. Choosing the wrong one can be very, very expensive. I think if I had to relate it, we had to use a sports metaphor here.
Yeah, it'd be like watching the Chiefs lose all over again to the Eagles in the Super Bowl and just replaying that in your head, and it's going to last forever versus just, 4 hours on a Sunday night.
That's right. So we'd love to make sure that that does not happen to you, because it does get very expensive, especially with new construction. The costs spiral out of control very quickly. So give us a phone call, text message, email. We'll set you up for success. Before you go, there's a guide in the description. It's linked at the top, completely free. You don't have to give us any of your contact info. Everything that we learned and know about new construction, buying a new home, building a home, we will continually update that over time. It's like 30 plus pages right now, but it could easily be 50 by the end of the week. So click that, take a look at it. And before you go, two things on the screen. This is a playlist, all of our property tour videos. A lot of the builders we talked about in this one, you're going to find some of their product right there. And then this is the video YouTube thinks you'd enjoy the most. So click there or here, and we will see you on the other side.